house is in a bit of a shambles, I'm in a bit of a shambles, but time is running away from me and it is time to pick my March Reading Spa book prompt. So if you can promise not to pay too much attention to what's going on behind me, you promise, and then I will crack on with my March Reading Spa reading vlog. If you don't know what the Reading Spa is, I will make sure to link the announcement video in the description below, but it's a readathon that Jen and I are running this year where we're celebrating our home libraries, and with very, very gentle, very ambiguous prompts, we're encouraging you to pick from your shelves and enjoy the books that you already own. So that's what we're here to do today for March. I have a wee quiz of just a couple of questions to guide me to a prompt for this month, so let's do that together.
Here are our questions for March, and the first question to kick us off for this month is, how would you spend an ideal weekend? Now, options are gardening, crafting or hiking. I like all of these activities. However, I would normally say gardening probably, but it has rained every day in the UK, every day this year so far. So gardening or hiking, you know I love hiking, love a dog walk, are not very pleasant at the moment, generally being outside. So I'm going to go for crafting. And this is also a true answer because I have just started a paint by numbers. So we're going to answer crafting. That takes us to a next question. Have I been outside today? And the answer to that is yes, although it's been in the rain. So my prompt for March is to read a book that makes you think of home. Sorry, I probably should have let you know what the others were before we started. So the three options for this month are read a book that makes you think of home, read a book that makes you think of a holiday, or read a book that makes you think of an adventure not yet taken. I'm really happy with read a book that makes you think of home. So let's go and see what books I have, what options I have for reading this month.
I really love this prompt because I think it's really broad and can be interpreted in lots of different ways. So you could read a book that makes you think of home, could literally be a book that is set where you live or where you grew up. It could be a book that's set in a house or in a domestic setting. You could do a haunted house kind of book. You could go for a book that makes you think of a spiritual home or a cultural home. You could interpret it as in read a book that makes you think of home in the people that you consider to be home, home is where the heart is, that kind of vibe. You could go down the route of reading a book that makes you think of how you feel about home. And I hope that for all of you watching this, that home is somewhere that feels safe and comforting and lovely. That's not the case for everybody, but I hope that's true for you. So you could go for a cozy crime or a cozy fantasy or something. So I think the possibilities for this are endless. Now, March is a special month because it's Dairython, where we are encouraged to read lots of Welsh books, books set in Wales, books by Welsh authors, books with any tenuous Welsh links. And so I will be taking part in that. So it would be really great if I could find a book. I have my stack here at the ready. That's from my Dairython TBR, and that kind of fits anyway, right? Because if it's a book that makes you think of home and it's kind of set in Wales or by a Welsh author, then that kind of already fits. But I think we can do even better by tying in a few other links too. So let's have a look at my TBR. Okay, before we get to the Welsh books, I thought we could just have a quick browse of my shelves and think about the way we can interpret the prompt. So a house for Miss Pauline, for example, could work because that's literally about a house or a home. I mean, if you really wanted to stretch it, Albion means UK, historical UK. So yeah, that could have counted. I think a very nice box is about designing a piece of furniture, I want to say. And so yeah, that could be about building a home. Ooh, I've got another one that's kind of like that. What's The Anthropologists? That's about two people who move to a new place and have to kind of work out how to set up their home and how they want to live together as new partners, I think. What else have we got? I mean, going back to what I was saying earlier in terms of home isn't always a safe and happy place. You could think about like, dear dickhead, if you had like a really problematic ex, thinking about what home might have meant to you at different times in your life. The Husbands. The Husbands is set in a house. This is a speculative fiction book about a woman who goes up into I think a husband comes down for the loft, and every time he goes up, he comes down as somebody different. So that's set in a home setting. Yeah, so I think potentially you get my drift. The possibilities are kind of endless. But let's have a look at my Wales books TBR, my Derrython TBR, and see if we can find something from that, because that would be ideal. Okay, here's a sneak peek at my Derrython TBR. I won't go through all of them with you, but these are the books that I have grabbed ready for March's reading. I won't be reading all of them, but this is the pile I will be picking from. So ideally, I'd like to pick one of these to read for this. So what other links can we make with home? So Welsh Witchcraft, my mum got me for Christmas. We could think of that in terms of like spiritual home and like my personality too. Kind of witchy. Welsh Food Stories would definitely work. Welsh Food Stories was recommended to me by Sophie at Redhead Reading. She really raved about this book, and food is definitely something that makes me think of home. So that's definitely a contender. I'm not sure how in the mood I am for non-fiction though, in terms of those two. Let's think. Wonderboy, Jamie Morrison is the drummer for the Stereophonics, which certainly makes me think of home and my childhood, and my kind of formative years, my teenage years were spent listening to the Stereophonics. I think this is about somebody like following their dreams, maybe. I don't think it's a memoir. Let's see. Yeah, best known as the drummer in the Stereophonics, musician, songwriter and producer Jamie Morrison's debut novel is an electric story about finding yourself and following your dreams. I mean, that feels like home to me. There's a dog on the cover, there's a robin on the cover. All of those make me think of home. It's a super fun cover, look at that. Very cool. Okay, that's a solid contender. I'm also wondering about Pigeon, because so this won Wales Book of the Year at some point in the past, and like one of the things that makes me think of home is feeding the birds. That's my favourite thing to do in the garden. I will do that every weekend and then sit where I can see them coming and going, and we have a couple of silly pigeons in our garden, so that makes me think of home. It's a Wales Book of the Year winner, which makes me think of home. And also if we're thinking about spiritual home, I picked this up on a booktuber meetup in Bath. I got this at the Oxfam bookshop at the last booktuber meetup. So that makes me think of my home on booktube. Okay, so these I think are my probably, one of them's upside down, I can't be bothered to put them straight, but those are my two contenders. Let's have a bit more look in detail and I will decide which I would like to read. Okay, so Pigeon by Alys Conran. Let's see what this is about. Yola and Pigeon make up stories to test each other. Stories of daring and adventure, of bad people, and of Gwyn, who drives his ice cream up the hill to their town every week. Gwyn is a dangerous man and Pigeon knows it. Yola is not so sure. As they grow up, their friendship grows more complicated. Some of their stories fall silent, but some will come true. And it says Pigeon is a journey through the uneasy, half-forgotten memories of childhood, a story about wishful thinking and the power of language. And it says, the Wales Arts Reviews blurb is interesting. A coming-of-age novel that turns into something of a murder mystery, Pigeon is written in a deceptively simple, thoroughly engaging style. That really appeals to me. Okay, and then Wonderboy by Jamie Morrison. From the moment Pop Morrison, aka Wonderboy, heard the mesmerising beats of a drum kit through a classroom window, he knew he was born to be a drummer. Pop and his band soon hit the big time, and the one-way path to stardom is a wild ride. When his partying lifestyle takes a dramatic downward turn, Pop is forced back to square one. Stuck in limbo, the only thing that comforts him is Druford, Alabama's personal diary, which he discovered in the torn silk lining of a thrifted suitcase one fateful night in a New York hotel suite. Searching for Druford becomes an obsession, but with only a name and a mysterious messages appearing on an empty page, will he ever find him? Oh, that's interesting. That sounds a bit kind of magical realism-ish. Interesting. Okay. I'm not sure. I've had a quick look through the pages and it looks like this is written in diary form at the start of a bit kind of Bridget Jonesy. At the start of each chapter it says the year, mood and location. I think I'm inclined to say I fancy reading Pigeon. I think this is the one I'm going to go for. So fits the prompt, read a book that makes you think of home, because it's by a Welsh author, and also the pigeons on the cover and in the title. Yeah, and there's that kind of like notion of a journey through the uneasy, half-forgotten memories of childhood. That makes me think of like home too. So this is it. Pigeon by Alys Conran. Here we come. Not to completely ruin the illusion or anything, but it is currently February when I'm filming this, so that I am able to pick my book and share this vlog in time for you to pick your March read, if you choose to do that at the start of the month. So it's currently Valentine's weekend, and I am very excited to tell you that this afternoon I'm going to see Wuthering Heights. I'm beyond excited. I read Wuthering Heights in January because I'd never read it before. And yeah, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about it. Really, really loved it, but it ain't a love story. But I'm beyond excited to see this adaptation. I think it's going to be like terrible in the most brilliant way. That's what my hopes are, and I just can't wait to see all of the costumes. And I love Margot Robbie. So I'm going with some girlfriends, and we're going to go for a drink afterwards and pick it all apart. So that sounds like a fun day to me.
I can't escape the storm you gave me.
I am just back from the cinema and our debrief afterwards, and the jury is that I loved it. Having read Wuthering Heights for the first time in January and appreciated it for what it was, which is not a love story, I thought the film was fan-freaking-tastic. It was so extra and so cinematic and so silly and so kind of, yeah, just a really smart interpretation of Wuthering Heights. I ate it up. It was so horny. None of us are making eggs for breakfast tomorrow without thinking about Wuthering Heights, that's for sure. But I thought it was freaking great. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought in the comments. realise that I haven't updated you at all. I was going to say haven't really updated you. No, haven't updated you at all since I picked the book. And I'm in danger of finishing it before I've actually said anything to you, which makes this a really rubbish vlog. So I am snatching a bit of time on my drive home from work to let you know how I've been getting on. So Pigeon is about two young-ish characters. I'm not sure if it said how old they were when the book started, but I had in mind kind of very end of primary school, perhaps, yeah, kind of like 11, 12-ish, that, you know, that kind of age. So young, but not like entirely innocent. And it's about two friends, Pigeon and Yola. Pigeon lives in pretty dire circumstances, so his mum starts seeing somebody who's abusive, and Pigeon gets relegated to the shed. He's kicked out of the house and moved into the shed, and yeah, it's not very happy life for Pigeon. And Yola is his mate. Her dad died and mum is missing, or the other way around. So she lives with her older sister, who's like described as like a bit of a hippie, which I think is quite fun. So it's kind of about their relationship, and basically Pigeon is very angry at the world, understandably, and he takes his anger out on a local ice cream truck driver. And I think potentially you could read into the fact that he's maybe Italian or from Italian lineage, or I'm not sure. Actually, I don't think it says that. He is from somewhere else. He's not Welsh, certainly. And so he's a bit othered already, and Pigeon kind of singles him out as the kind of focus for his frustration and anger at the world. And that's kind of the premise and the setup of the story. Now, I usually really love books that are written from like a youthful, like innocent perspective about more complex adult issues, because when that's done well, it does a lot of showing, not telling, and there's a lot that you as a reader can discern from things that a child is describing that the child who's narrating the story wouldn't necessarily understand, but you with your adult eyes do. And I kind of like that as a narrative device. I haven't felt that same kind of like really satisfying itch on my brain with this book that I usually get from that. I'm not sure why that is. There isn't like, it's not telling rather than showing, which is a bugbear when people try to write from children's perspectives. It's not doing that. So what is it that's not quite landing, or what's missing for me? I don't know the answer to that. But yeah, it's a pretty dark story. We've hit on a few road bumps and kind of like loose twists, which I won't disclose because they would be spoilers. But it's doing something quite interesting with their relationship. It's really about kind of breaking the patterns of trauma, I think, thematically, and how that can be passed on in different ways, and how people can be protected from it or not. So there we go. It's also doing some fun things on the page. So the dialogue is quite immature, as you would expect, certainly at the beginning, and so they're kind of like speaking in like teen speak, but the way that it's laid out on the page, like there's big spaces where there's like silences and things like that, which is quite fun. If I remember when I've got the actual book in my hand and can show you safely, hands on the steering wheel turned 2, then I'll show you what that looks like on the page when I get there. So that's my update, and I'm doing that now because basically I think I am likely to finish the book fairly soon. So yes, now you officially have had an update. Sorry for the rubbish vlogging. I am just back from lunch, and yes, you are balanced precariously on a windowsill. So as predicted, I finished Pigeon by Alys Conran really quickly after I last spoke to you, so I'm glad I did an update when I did. And it feels like in that last little bit of the book something really kind of clicked for me. Up until that point I was enjoying it. I wonder if you got that sense from when I talked about it in the car. I was finding it really difficult to kind of really pin down what the book was saying and doing. Like, I understood that it was about this friendship and like shared trauma and the impact of trauma on family lives, but it wasn't quite, it was like, yeah, yes, but and what? Because I knew that there was something else going on. I hadn't quite kind of like put my finger on it yet, and that's what really clicked for me at the very end of the book. And I guess the theme that would encapsulate that is morality widely, but like more specifically, so at each sorry, I'm wedged in the corner, at each, there's lots of points where the main characters, Pigeon and Yola, make decisions, and a lot of those decisions happen when they're very young, like way too young to understand the consequences of them. And for the most part, when they're choosing to do things, you're like, I was thinking, yes, right, wrong, like I'm kind of really on board with where we land on the moral spectrum. But as the story goes on, that's the thing that gets a bit more tricky to unpick and to pin down. So there's several moments throughout the book where the characters have an opportunity to rethink an earlier decision. And it wasn't until that opportunity presents itself to Pigeon, kind of like right at the end, that it suddenly dawned on me, like, I no longer know what is right or wrong to do here. There's been so much weaving in and out of whether something is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. And I'm so spun around by all of that by this point in the book at the end that I don't know. And it was so compelling, and I was so gripped at this point, because I was like, I don't know what he's going to do, and I don't know what the right thing is to do, and I don't know what I want him to do. And yeah, so that was the thing that, like, really in that moment, it's like, wow, okay, no, all of what's been happening so far up until this point has been leading up to me being in this real fix, like starting off on really kind of sure ground about what's right, what's wrong. That's okay to do because of these circumstances, and well, that's understandable because of these circumstances, and and so on. But then you kind of like, there's so much of that weaving in and out of it that when you get to this point at the end, I was like, completely dumbfounded, like really gripped to see what happened, and like with no idea what should or what the right kind of thing to happen would be anymore. And that's what this book did so brilliantly. So we got there in the end. I'm sorry that I haven't been very attentive with sharing this experience with you as I've gone, but as I said, I was finding it difficult to kind of like know what to say, and it is quite a quick read. Just thinking back, one of the things that I said I was going to do is show you what it looks like on the page when the characters are kind of talking in that dialogue. So here you go, as you can see, it's kind of like quick fire chat, and then a big silence, and then it carries on. And same here. This is a younger sister character like bothering her kind of stepbrother. So I thought that was really clever. That made for the dialogue to be quite immersive, and it really kind of like lifted it off the page. So there we go. That's it. That's Pigeon done. I'm just back from my lunch break. I have a pistachio latte, which is my latest obsession, to see me through the afternoon. But yeah, that's our March read done. I'd love to know if you're taking part in Derrythorn and reading any books from Wales or set in Wales or by Welsh authors. Let me know what you're planning to read, and if you're taking part in the reading spa, which book you've gone for this month, which prompt you got, or if you've not taken part, which prompt you would have liked to get, whether to read a book that makes you think of home, to read a book that makes you think of a holiday, or to read a book that makes you think of an adventure not yet taken. I'd love to know all of that in the comments below, or if you're not sure what to put, then drop me an emoji. I'd love that too. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope that you're looking after yourself, and I'll see you again in another video.